Good evening, folks. It is Sunday, the 11th of September, and we are here with the Factivist report. I'm going to turn this right over to Dave.
Okay, so here's the plan. There was something that bothered me this week when I saw on social media, Facebook, whatever, when people were blaming Joe Biden for the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis. So we're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about two separate water crises and how a Democratic governor deals with their crisis and the time frame and the timeline, and how a Republican governor deals with his crisis and the problems with what they do and what they did. So let's get right into it. The first one, I don't know if people have heard about it, but in New York State, polio has been found in, by the way, not drinking water, wastewater. Okay, it's wastewater, not tap water, drinking water.
Right. And by the way, that is also partly the way public health tracks what's going on in the state. They did that also with COVID. So
Yep. So the best way that I can show you what I'm talking about with the situation with New York found health officials found polio in New York wastewater. So here's a timeline. April of this year, wastewater samples collected in New York contained polio. Researchers were unable to genetically link it to other samples. Then they found more samples in June. July 21st, New York confirms the first polio case in an unvaccinated Rockland man, by the way. So
no comment.
An investigation into that particular case, to the best of their knowledge, he was patient zero for the polio, finds evidence of a connection between the U.S. infection and sewage samples from London and Jerusalem. Okay, then August 5th, the state's top health official, her name is Mary Bassett, warns that the single case may be the tip of the iceberg. This is how things start. CDC deploys a team to New York to assist the state's health department with its investigation of the case on August 9th. There were some stories on August 12th talking about it, how polio was found. August 11th, CDC weighs offering some New Yorkers an 8 extra dose of the polio vaccine amidst concerns of a silent community spread. We're looking into all aspects of how to deal with this. At this point, we don't have a definitive answer. Jose Romero, director of CDC's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, states. Now, a few days ago, Kathy Hochul, when they find more samples in Nassau County, she declares a state emergency in regards to this situation, which gives her more resources and makes polio vaccines potentially more available to those people in need. So we're talking from April to September, April to May, May to June, June to July, July to August. Or is it 5 months? That's how quick this was. Pretty quick, actually. And the way things are supposed to run. So here's a couple of stories when it first really hit the news. This is August 1st from Reuters. Polio found in New York wastewater as state urges vaccination. As I said, July 31st, I believe, was the first date or the first case of polio. So right away, they start asking.
By the way, this is a disease that was eradicated in 1979, okay?
Right.
Let's not let the medical freedom issue bring polio back, okay? Let's not get stupid.
And before everybody gets crazy, I know there was an ad campaign on in I don't know if it was Long Island Railroad trains. I think it was subway trains in New York City. You do you, like you're not required to wear masks anymore. And people thought, oh, she's reversing her position. Listen, you can only fight so many fights on so many fronts. Now she's now she's trying to get people to vaccinate for polio. Okay, so I'm just saying people are going to do what they're going to do, and you know it.
You know what? There is little to be done when the American people aren't willing to do their part. That's
Right.
just, it's as simple as that. Everybody's done with COVID now. Hey, so be it. I'm not done with it. You want to be done with it? You be done with it. It's amazing.
Now, I don't know scientifically, I don't know how this works, but we're talking about this is traveling now down wastewater. Okay, now it's in Nassau County. That's traveling a ways from New York City.
Well, that means that the virus is spreading. It doesn't mean
Correct.
spreading in the wastewater. It means that it's spreading
Yep.
county to county, from person to person.
Which is why this is a story by Lola Fadulu in New York Times. Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency past Friday over the growing polio outbreak in an effort to better equip healthcare providers with tools to curb the spread of a sometimes disabling virus before it takes further hold in the state. Because of what Deb said, exactly. It's spreading to Long Island. Now, you said, well, Long Island's an island. It's isolated. No. It's also spreading to the west from New York City. So I'm just saying it's a potential hazard to the state and other states, by the way. This could become a national thing. Once it will cross state lines. It came from other countries.
Right. We're a mobile society, okay? When you travel, you generally look at a list of countries you go into. There are countries that still have severe polio outbreaks. When you go to those countries, you need to be vaccinated. That's the way this works.
So we're talking about an investigation and action taken within 5 months because of a spread of a detection of polio in the wastewater, which indicates a spread of polio.
Can you go down a little bit? I want to look at the paragraph that says, all right, so if you look, the first polio case in nearly a decade was identified in July in New York State. Officials said an unvaccinated man in Rockland County was infected by virus that had been shed from someone who received the oral polio vaccine, which has not been administered in the United States since 2000. The oral vaccine is safe, but contains small amounts of weakened live virus that can circulate and strengthen if communities are under-vaccinated. That's the way that works.
Now, this is not an infrastructure problem. This is a human behavior problem.
Correct.
The next problem or the next issue with water is an infrastructure problem.
That is brought about by a human behavior problem, quite frankly.
Yep. Which, the human behavior problem, it didn't start with Tate Reeves, but right now it's Tate Reeves. Anyway, so before anybody goes, oh, well, there were Democratic governors, blah, 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 blah. This is Mississippi. Mississippi has had Republican governors since 2004, almost 20 years. Yes, Ronnie Musgrove was a governor from 2000 to 2004. So this has been going on for a while. Okay. In Jackson, Mississippi, this didn't happen overnight. This is a water crisis decades in the making because of their infrastructure. For more than a month.
Flint.
Yep. Residents of Jackson, Mississippi have not had access to safe drinking water. They have been instructed to keep their mouths closed while they shower. They're under a boil water advisory after problems with the pumps at the city's main water treatment plant. It's the latest emergency in a city that has had problems with its water system for decades. And the EPA has been brought in, the mayor and the EPA person talked with Tate Reeves, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into it in a second. But of course, we're talking about environmental racism.
We are indeed.
Okay. Because the majority of the people in this town are Black. And they're not rich either. Okay. So she and her children aged 10 and 11 had to brush their teeth with bottled water, spend time refilling the family supply at 2 water distributions and nearby churches. They've used garden hose daily to fill 4 buckets of water to run the toilet. Okay.
We don't live in some fucking third world country, but we sure look like it.
Corey, 35, works as a caregiver to a bedridden elderly woman in the nearby town of Madison, which is like most areas surrounding Jackson, was unscathed thanks to the newer water system. They don't have water problems. They don't have any of these problems. Jackson, Mississippi, has been under a boil water notice since late July, with longstanding water failures exacerbated by recent flooding and broken pumps at the city's main water plant that left many in the capital city of 150,000 without water last week. And do you know how I found out about this? Initially, there's a college football team that couldn't shower or, ice themselves or whatever, and had to go to a hotel a couple of towns away, that is from Jackson, Mississippi, that Deion Sanders coaches. That's how I found out about this initially. So Tate Reeves said Monday the water pressure had returned to normal in most of the city, although residents were still ordered to boil water before using it. By the way, they've had to do this before. So this is a problem that's been going on for years and years and years. Classes are expected to resume in most schools Tuesday, but the governor said the crisis was not over. The system broke over several years, and it would be inaccurate to claim it's totally solved in a matter of less than a week. Now,
guys are horses.
Why? By the way, Tate Reeves, before he was governor, was lieutenant governor.
Correct.
So I'm just saying that they've known about this for a long time. Okay. And infrastructure problems in the state are the responsibility of the governor, not of the president.
Federal government. Okay.
The president his duty and responsibility is to provide emergency services to these states when emergencies happen. But this could have been prevented because it's an infrastructure problem dealing with, water pumps and equipment. It's a story by Vox talking about it a little bit more, going into more detail. And if you want to listen to it, this is an NPR story. These are officials meeting with the EPA administrator brought by Joe Biden to talk about what can be done.
By the way,
mayor,
majority of the
EPA administrator,
right,
and Tate Reeves.
by the way, in general, the GOP has absolutely no respect for the EPA. In fact, they're talking about dissolving the EPA if they're reelected. Who's going to help them out when this shit happens?
Right. Now, I've seen on social media, I've seen on, on Facebook or whatever, this is what happens when Biden became president.
That's bullshit.
And the friggin' brown coffee water and all that. Give me a break. Okay. And by the way, we will get to Flint in a minute. Just so you know, Biden says the Mississippi governor has to act on the Jackson water crisis. So Tate Reeves asked for help. Biden gave him what he could, gave him access to the EPA, said, look, there's money there. We can address this problem. You have to do something. You have to act. By the way, again, this has been going on for years. Governors should have, since 2004, we've had Republican governors. I don't know if this was going on before then, but they could have done something about this, but they didn't. They ignored it. And why?
Because the residents are poor and mostly black. That's why.
3 weeks without water. And this was as of September 2nd. So it's been about a month now, at least. Now, what's Tate Reeves' solution? Here we go. Let's privatize it. Let's privatize water.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. Sure is. So now let's make it a question of profits and let's see what the fuck happens there.
And if you remember, that's a very start. That's what caused Flint in the first place. When you're talking about making profits over making sure that a utility, water is a utility, it's needed. We need water to survive. And that's a problem. So privatization is on the table, which means that he's working on it.
Of course it is.
There are indeed problems in Jackson that are decades old, on the order of $1 billion to fix. Is that right there? Him dropping that number? He's saying, Joe, you got to help us. You got to give us some money if you want this done. I know it.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
So
maybe they should put that in their fucking budget.
To remind people, it's what happened with Flint. They privatized it, they profitized it, and there we go. So, and on top of that, Deb put me onto this. I wasn't aware of this, actually. How Donald Trump is connected to the Flint water crisis. His Secretary of Education helped craft a law that set the stage for the Flint water crisis. So this is an old story.
Oh, yeah, but the DeVos family is from Michigan.
So this is, I believe, the Flint water crisis. When did the Flint water crisis start? Was it 14? Or was it earlier?
It was because, it says right there that he made a crude joke about the city's water crisis when he was running. So it was definitely before 2016.
Oh, I don't think it was before 2014, but I could be wrong. But it was years.
Right.
It's been going on for years.
Yep.
From the date of this story. So Betsy DeVos, Trump's pick for Secretary of Education, pushed through reforms that undercut local democracy. So this is what it's called, an emergency manager law. So in trying to get to the root of the crisis in Flint, many have pointed to Michigan's emergency manager law, which allows the governor to bypass elected government and appoint a single official to take over a city's budgeting. The law was actually overturned by a popular referendum in 2012, but sneakily pushed back through the legislature by Governor Rick Snyder, who is responsible for Flint, ultimately.
Yeah. So when the GOP tells you that Gretchen Whitmer is responsible for it, that's an outright lie. She wasn't even fucking thinking about it then.
So this absolutely did happen after 2012.
Right.
Pushed by Governor Rick Snyder immediately afterwards in a way that prevented it from being subject to another public vote. This is the way Republicans work. And when Michigan voters said they didn't want their local democracies hijacked, they had a good reason. It was Flint's emergency financial manager, Darnell Early, who all but forced the city to switch its water source to the polluted Flint River. So, just saying. And the one thing I didn't know that the DeVos family was from Michigan. So what I'm saying is privatization is dicey at best. You may say you don't trust the government, but trusting businesses.
When it comes to infrastructure, water, you know what? You don't.
Energy.
Public education?
Yep.
I'm sorry, folks. No. No. No.
And transportation too.
Yep.
So Tate Reeves asked for help. Biden approved the help. What was he supposed to do? And Tate Reeves is not a nice guy by any stretch of the imagination. So, state deploys National Guard September 1st. Okay. So, and amidst the water crisis, you can always have time to slam a minority group.
Yeah, no, that's what they do best.
Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves was too busy attacking LGBTQ people to fix Jackson's water problem. So Republicans have all but given up on the job of governing. If governors spent as much time ensuring their state's infrastructure were in good shape as they do demonizing LGBTQ people, the South would be the envy of the nation. Instead, we get disasters like Jackson, Mississippi. So Mississippi was the first state to ban trans youth from participating in school sports at a signing ceremony celebrating the bigotry. And this is from LGBTQ Nation, by the way. So at a signing ceremony celebrating bigotry, Governor Tate Reeves accused Joe Biden of encouraging transgenderism among our young people, going on a tear when Biden signed an executive order protecting LGBTQ people, calling it a radical social experiment.
Yeah, he's a radical social experiment.
Yeah. Fighting the culture war does not leave Reeves much time for anything else, apparently. When opportunities came to help the people of Jackson, the majority of whom were Black, he refused. In 2020, he vetoed bipartisan legislation to help residents with, 2020, 2 years ago, with overdue water bills, which would have provided much needed money to the city. Reeves complained the bill would send a message that individuals are not responsible for paying their water bills, even though they have to boil it and they're not really being given clean water in the first place. We went through this crap with Flint too. So at the same time, Reeves had no problem ensuring the state was not investing in its citizens, happily signing into law the state's largest income tax cut ever. The tax cut means even less money for services like replacing failing infrastructure. So now, I move on to phase 2, which is Deb has spoken about the investigation, Merrick Garland, and what he's doing and still going to do. I'm going to go into a little bit about why he is being as prudent and careful with his investigation as he can be, which is candidates are using January 6th as a rallying cry now and as a mantra that this was just peaceful protesting or whatever. We've said it over and over and over again that that's garbage. And it will be proven, it has been proven to a point, and we haven't even stopped yet. I don't know how far the January 6th Commission is going to be able to go. All depends on
They're not
who's
done.
still around. I know they're not done, but if I'm just saying, you don't vote in House Democrats or Democrats to the House, if the Republicans get a majority somewhere,
They will kill the J6 Commission. That'll be the first fucking thing they do.
that would be the first thing they do. That's what I'm saying. I know they're not done, but they will be if we.
In fact,
we
they
lose.
just called Newt Gingrich to come testify.
Yeah. What am I talking about? Louis Gohmert gave an American flag to Simone Gold, one of Deb's favorite people. Americans Frontline Doctors, the founder of that thing.
Yeah, they haven't been on the front line of anything except fucking medical misinformation.
Met with a Capitol rioter.
No one was treated a COVID patient, by the way.
Right. Met with a Capitol rioter after her release from federal prison, called her a political prisoner. By the way, she pleaded guilty, by the way,
Right.
to criminal trespass. And I don't remember all the charges, but she pleaded guilty. And now Gohmert is trying to, just wash it all away. Oh, she was just giving a speech. No, she wasn't. She went inside the Capitol, by the way. That right there.
He gave her a flag that flew over the Capitol building. And by the way, I'm pretty sure he flew down there on the fucking taxpayer dollar. I'm positive of that. I'm positive Louis Gohmert didn't use his own fucking money.
She is a national treasure, according to Louis Gohmert.
She's a national treasure, all right. She's a right-wing operative. She was funded by people. She was funded, by the way, by the Tea Party, the Tea Party's PAC.
So in a press release, Gohmert, and by the way, I don't know if this was the press release that two of Deb's other favorite people, Slimeball, Matt Gaetz, and Marjorie Taylor Greene were also there.
Nauseating.
Gohmert falsely called Gold a political prisoner, a national treasure, blamed President Joe Biden's administration for unjustly prosecuting her. After having her name and reputation shamefully dragged through the mud, after she pleaded guilty to criminal trespass, the Biden administration's DOJ threw her in prison for peacefully walking into the U.S. Capitol.
You know what? I'm sorry, but I feel a shut the fuck up coming on. I actually do. I actually hadn't read this whole article yet. Well, I'm reading it now.
Dr. Gold is a definition of what a political prisoner looks like. Something I never thought I'd see here in the United States.
Something I never thought I'd see here in the United States is a sitting fucking congressman elevating a fucking seditionist.
God bless Dr. Gold. God bless Dr. Gold. This is why I'm an atheist, by the way. God bless Dr. Gold. History will not look kindly upon those who persecuted and prosecuted doctors who spoke out against the COVID lockdown, mask, and vaccine mandates. And by the way, pushed hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. Hydroxychloroquine.
You should never say that word.
I can't. Gold in a tweet said she was honored to receive the recognition. Of course she was.
Yeah. Yeah. In the meantime, she's been fired from every emergency room that she ever worked in.
By the way, yeah, they call her former medical whatever.
Yeah.
I don't, were her credentials stripped from her?
I don't know if her credentials were stripped, but she did work in 2 emergency rooms and they suspended her immediately.
Okay.
So,
Oh, Lord. I am honored to receive this recognition from Congressman Gohmert, a true believer in freedom and a fierce defender of our constitutional rights.
and a moron. Don't forget that.
So, okay. And here's another one. Okay. So there's another story here. But Doug Mastriano, this is from from Rolling Stone. Caught on tape, which means he knew about this prior to January 6th happening. Doug Mastriano prayed for MAGA to seize the power ahead of January 6th. What else do you need? He is a seditionist. It's on tape. What else do you need?
Yeah.
Vote against this guy. Okay? He cannot get into office.
He's a sick twist, this guy.
Okay? So, and
With the jackaloon, huh?
yep. We will hawk this story until the end of time. 147 Republicans who voted to overturn election results.
Out of 221, okay? 147 out of 221 elected Republicans voted for sedition.
What else do you need? I have a couple other things, but what else do you need, really?
I got plenty of other shit.
Now, how are we taking action? This is not going to be a fast process, but here's the start. Cowboys for Trump founder, first politician removed from office over January 6th, being charged with sedition, I believe it was. Could others be next? So this is a judge in New Mexico ruling Tuesday that Couy Griffin, an Otero County commissioner and founder of the group Cowboys for Trump, is disqualified from holding public office because of his participation in the January 6th, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. Now, how can Doug Mastriano possibly
Run for
be
governor.
allowed to run?
Right.
For governor, for God's sake. He was praying for an overturn of the government on tape.
In Colorado, our friend Tina Peters was removed from overseeing the last election there, but she still remained on the ballot for Secretary of State.
Right.
Even though she lost. But then
Right.
she said it was fixed. So, hey, what can I tell you?
Here's just a quick list of Trump endorsements. And we'll run through this real quick. Basically, what you need to know is that and I'm just going to go through the list. This is during the Republican primaries. All of the blue are the Trump endorsed candidates that won. So, all candidates, 152 out of 153 wins. Challengers, 4 out of 10. Open race, 41 out of 45. So, and they break it down. State executives like Attorney General, Secretary of State, that kind of thing. Now, I'm just going to run down this all categories, and blue means that they won. And kind of that auburn color means that they lost. The first guy is Charles Herbster in Nebraska. It's a governor race. and he was endorsed for 196 days, faced allegations of unwanted sexual advances.
Might be the
So
lost.
Madison Cawthorn, plagued with scandal. So Janice McGeechan, by the way, a lot of these people who lost, it's either scandal or they ran against incumbents that Trump was trying to primary and get rid of because they opposed him and voted for his impeachment or whatever. Oh, and I mentioned Dan Goldman. Dan Goldman was not a real endorsement, by the way.
Right.
He's not even listed on here. There were two people in New York, actually. Elise Stefanik, and I can't remember the other one. But Dan Goldman was, yeah, Dan Goldman. Trump said, oh, he's a good guy, even though he tried to impeach me and he lost. You know, good luck next time, Dan, or whatever the hell. So we need to support Dan Goldman, and that's
Dan Goldman was actually the prosecuting
attorney in the first impeachment. Yeah. So Jake Evans, I don't know. There's no Vernon Jones, former Democratic state rep, accused of rape in late 2004. So
bye.
Yeah. Oh, Herschel, look, Trump's handpicked candidate, Herschel Walker. God help us. John Gordon for Attorney General. Trump endorsed Gordon after the incumbent Chris Carr publicly stated he believes the election was fair in Georgia. So again, John Gordon, yep. David Perdue, that was another guy. Kemp blew him out of the water.
Right.
And Trump was trying to get rid of Kemp. Same thing. Jody Heiss, Secretary of State challenger. Heiss disputed the results of the 2020 election, lost to Brad Raffensperger. Deb, can you go into a little detail?
Yeah, Brad Raffensperger is actually the Republican who won the primary. He's also the Republican who refused to do what Trump wanted him to do. He fought off phone calls, not only from Trump, but also from the princess there, the closet queen.
Oh, yeah. Graham.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham. Lady Lindsey, as we call her. And he also testified truthfully in front of the J6 committee.
So he wants him gone.
He wanted him gone. He definitely wanted Raffensperger gone. That did not work.
Right. And Lindsey Graham, I know they're still subpoenaing him. Is he still fighting it, or what's going on with that?
He has a temporary reprieve, but I believe, he will have to eventually testify, but they want to make sure that what he testifies about is not relative to his work in the Senate.
Okay. Right. So I'm not going to go through all these, but just one more. Katie Arrington lost, unsuccessfully challenged GOP Rep Nancy Mace, who angered Trump by criticizing him in the wake of the January 6th insurrection. So you see the pattern.
Right. No, she did later walk back her critical comments, though, being the good Republican that she is.
Right. So
but in general, he did very well in the primaries, which means, I'm just going to say it, you need to get out there, folks. The Democrats need to show up, and they need to show up big time, because I'll tell you right now, you don't get it done for 2022, you can kiss 2024 goodbye. I'm just telling you.
There are two websites I'm going to repeat. I put them in last week, but I will put them again. 538, again, great articles. By the way, like this one, Republican nominees in 40 states think the 2020 election was stolen. Here's why this matters. Just click on it to see, who we're talking about. But especially with the House, I like these kind of things because the House is there's so many races. Everybody is running.
Yeah, every seat in the
Every house is open. Every House seat is open. So you see the House forecast. This is just to see who's running in your district if you don't know. Yes, I know who's running in my district, but it's just
keep in mind that Republicans are favored to win the House. That could be shifting, but you know what? It will require people to vote. It's because it's shifting in some places doesn't mean you get to stay home and sit back and say, oh, it's going to be taken care of. You know what? You have a duty to vote. Okay. We live in a country where we can vote. We live in a country where people died getting Black people to be able to vote. They were digging up bodies in marshes in Mississippi and every other fucking place. Get your ass out and vote. Okay. You have a right and a duty.
The House is extremely important because we need it. We need the House.
You know
we
what?
need to
It
keep
does
that.
no good to win the Senate if you're going to give up the House. Okay. It's either both or guess what? You face 4 years of fucking torment. I'm serious about this.
Well,
They have vowed to impeach Joe Biden. For the first time in history, impeachment will be used as a political tool. If they have the majority, they will impeach him. They do not care. They are not fair and they are not unbalanced. They are determined, folks.
I don't know how this works. Some of these elections, especially the special elections, I believe in 2 years it'll be up for re-election. However, don't count on that. So this is an interactive map. You can just go along this. The dark blue is favored Democrat. Then you have the dark red, it's favored Republican, and then varying colors means that it's a closer and closer race. But you can just click on your district, click on where it is, and check out what's going on. Okay. Now the predictions change. I wouldn't count on any of that. I just wouldn't. Here's another one. The Cook Political Report, which is used in most news stories. It's another vote tracker, same principle, but it lists alphabetically all these guys. Just take a look at it at your leisure. And now, if Deb wants to talk about the website real quick, I know she's made some changes. This is pre-change, but
this is pre-change, but let me just tell you what's been worked on over this past week. First of all, Dave, can you click on references?
Hold on. Where is that?
References and sources.
Oh, those references and sources. Yep.
Just don't click on glossary, just the references and sources one. Just click on that.
Yep.
Now, these are articles that some of them are actually used directly on the website as references. This is just someplace you can go to. If you scroll down a little, it's broken down by the categories that we talk about in the website. Okay.
So this is abortion, contraception, reproductive health.
This is updated every single day. All right.
Constitutional serifs. January 6th. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton there. DOJ investigations. So LGBTQ rights.
So this is like a giant, library. Okay.
Yep.
The thing we added is largely under the players. We added some stuff about Donald Trump's criminal activity. We talked about, high crimes and misdemeanors, and then we had a separate page that talks about the National Archives case, the
Right.
documents case. So that'll be updated as things go along.
This is this is the players now. This is again, this is that 147
Yep.
people, and I know the New York Times story is in there, but every time I do something that story is relevant for, I put it in.
Yep.
It's a very good New York Times story. I mean, geez.
So,
one second. I want people to understand too. Madison Cawthorn is working with the Groypers now. He's not gone. He's
Right.
working with Nick Fuentes.
Right.
Just because he was voted out doesn't mean he's not a player anymore.
he's 26
Understand.
years old.
He's
Okay.
26.
He's not going anywhere. He'll be back. And he has also started a PAC, just so people
Yep.
understand. So he will be influencing things.
Yep.
I also have put in under the 2022, under the pipeline, the 2022, I still have to add the house, which I am working on now.
Yep.
So I'll be continuing to work on the website tonight and through the day tomorrow. It will be posted again. It'll be reactivated tomorrow for the week.
I know that Deb's constantly working on that particular part, and I also know how comprehensive the house is. So that's why I'm giving you those websites so you can check to see who your rep is and who you want to. By the way, again, you can you can send out postcards. You can text bank, you can phone bank for candidates outside of your state.
All right, so here I'm doing New Hampshire. See, this is New Hampshire. Okay, I'm working on New Hampshire to help protect Maggie Hassan's seat in the Senate. I also want to do Michigan, and I also want to do Florida. All right, and it seems crazy, but you don't actually mail those till October 28th.
Okay.
They want you to get to the people just before the election. If you get it too early, they forget. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they tell you everything to do. They tell you who's a first-time voter on your list. They tell you who has voted before, and you tailor the message. They give you the messages. There's no thinking. You don't have to write it on your own. You just handwrite what they give you. This is how shit gets done. If we are in a situation that we have never been in before, okay? When people say to me, well, raiding Trump's Mar-a-Lago, that set a precedent. Well, you know what? So did taking fucking hundreds of thousands of documents out of the White House, some of which included the nuclear capabilities of other nations, is also a precedent. Okay, we are in a time when we have never quite been here before. All right. We've been in situations before. This is huge. These people cannot get back in. I tell you this now. All right. But I will also tell you one other thing. There will be no indictment of Donald Trump before the midterms.
Right.
Because the one thing that Merrick Garland is absolutely right about is not giving the GOP any ammunition about this being a political investigation. And he knows what he's doing. I'm urging people, you know what? Let the DOJ do its job. You do your job. You can get rid of these people before they can. All right? The wheels of justice turn slow. He's not fighting his battle in the court of public opinion. He has to make it stick in a court of law. You are working in the court of public opinion. Vote these bastards out.
Yeah. By the way, Deb gave me information in regards to Russia and different things that are going on, potential things that are going on. We're not mentioning anything yet, but fasten your seatbelts, because they constantly talk about Hunter Biden. Okay, constantly. Deb and I were going to do a show on it, and then found that there wasn't really much show, so we didn't do it. If what we think is happening is shown to have happened, oh my God, it's going to be, I don't use these words like bombshell or explosive. It's going to be explosive. This has never happened before. You have never had a president go this far. And you can't have a president go this far ever again. You have to keep safeguards in place against Republicans and Democrats, by the way. Oh, by the way, just a small comment about this. We know there was a county official in, where was it, Nevada?
Yeah.
That is under investigation. It has been arrested, and it looks like he stabbed and murdered an investigative reporter. And he's a Democrat. This is an outlier. You have one guy, and now, you know, how many freaking Republicans have been under investigation or have done whatever the hell? Now, not all of them are violent, but I mean, God's sake, Kyle Rittenhouse, for God's sake, is
okay.
He's a thug.
He's out there whining that the media is making it hard for him to live his life. Maybe he should have thought about that before he traveled across state lines with an AR-15 and shot 3 people. You know, maybe he could have thought about that. Maybe he could have thought about that. And by the way, the Republican Party, part of the website now, is talking about what we call stochastic terrorism.
Right.
And it is something that the Republicans indulge in all day long, okay? I'll give you an example. This is on the website. Paul Gosar's tweet, August 8th, that, you know, the invasion of Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. There is now no option for failure. The FBI must be destroyed. On August 11th, a guy who was also present at the January 6th insurrection attacked the Cincinnati office of the FBI with an AR-15 style weapon. These are the kinds of shit that the Republicans do. And the definition of stochastic terrorism is the demonization of a person or a group of people that almost always results in violence that is not able to be accurately predicted. They do this day in and day out. The supermarket killing, where 10 people were shot, and 3 people were killed and 3 people were wounded. That guy left a 180-page manifesto about the great replacement theory. The constant talking about all of this shit is resulting in violence across the board. And the GOP and their followers are eating it up. People need to understand this. This is not okay.
The demonization of Anthony Fauci.
Right, exactly. His whole family's been threatened. Listen to me, folks. You know what? Violence is the hallmark and the calling card and the logo of fascism. Whether you want to believe it or not, perhaps you ought to look back and see how Mussolini took over Italy, because that's a fucking warning signal for all of you here in the United States. It can happen here. And that's it. So there we go. I'm done.
So take that.
Right.
And by the way, if all of this disgusts you, if all of this upsets you, in the name of all, vote. I know you don't listen to Biden. I know you don't listen to Kamala Harris. I know you don't listen to, Obama. I know you don't listen to Democratic leaders. And I understand some people being frustrated and to some degree even disgusted by some back in the day. This is the thing I talked about on the short show. You have to fight fights one fight at a time. You have to take care of this first. You have to take care of insurrectionists first, and you have to take care of the extreme right wing first. That is the fight. And I said it on the short show. I worked for a campaign in a limited way, did a little bit of canvassing and phone banking for Yuleen New, the U.S. House 10. She decided not to use the Working Family Party line because getting Democrats in was more important than fighting this race to get her in. She wants better candidates in, but now is not the time because it would waste too many resources for the working family parties who's trying to get more Democrats in, and that would put too much emphasis on one race in Manhattan. And she decided unselfishly to let it go. That's what you need to do.
There are 7 Republicans in the state of I believe it's Pennsylvania, who are going to vote for Josh Shapiro. He's a Democrat, okay?
Right.
Adam Kinzinger has said he will help democracy-loving Democrats get elected. He's a Republican. You people need to understand where we are in history here. And I'm going to tell you right now, there will be no battles to be fought if you don't fight this one. You can forget it, all right? Your battle will just be to survive. Let me give you another example of what terrorism looks like. For weeks, they have been demonizing Children's Hospital here in Boston about their transgender program. They have been spreading lies that they are giving hysterectomies to transgender people, youth, underage people. That was proven to be an outright lie. A hysterectomy is used to treat cancer. Children who have endometrial cancer, okay? It is a last resort treatment. And the GOP and the right wingers are painting it as if it's part of transgender treatment. That's the kind of shit they have been subjected to, death threats and bomb threats. There have been cops all over the front of that fucking hospital. They have kids there who are seriously ill. Do you understand how disruptive that is to the parents of those kids? Wake up, people. Wake the fuck up. That's terrorism, and that is not okay.
And by the way, let's just say that we get through this. Republicans help us. Once everything, quote unquote, gets back to normal, we will still fight these Republicans on their policies. Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know. I love Liz Cheney, and I love what she's doing. But Liz Cheney has voted with Donald Trump 93% of the time. Okay? Right. She's a hardcore conservative Republican. I give her more than enough credit for standing up like this because she put her career in the line and she lost badly. Right. But you know what? I don't agree with her policies, and I never have. Okay. And
we're not gonna endorse her on this show for president.
Nope.
Not even in the Republican primary. Well, I don't know about all that, but
it's like she lost.
No, I'm saying if she runs in the Republican primaries for president.
No, I'm not
in 2024. We're not going there. Whatever happens, happens.
I don't endorse Republicans ever.
No.
I
mean, we want whoever is going to make the difference. They're already talking. They're already doing the long-term projections. What happens if Biden doesn't run? Blah blah blah. They've already started talking to Kamala Harris. For God's sake, they interviewed Hillary and asked her if she's going to run. She's not going to run, by the way. If Joe Biden doesn't run, my educated guess is Gavin Newsom. That's my educated guess.
And no one really knows what's going to happen. There may be a Democratic Party primary. We don't know.
Who knows?
Have no clue what's going to happen. Because honestly, right now, folks, you don't even need to be thinking about 2024. That's a fucking distraction. Okay?
2022.
It's right now that you need to start thinking about. Because you know something, I hate to say this, but if you give the House and the Senate to the GOP, you can forget 2024. Forget it. Just wipe it off your fucking card because all bets are off.
I know there was just the primaries, but I have 2 things to say. Again, the primary voter turnout numbers that I saw were pathetic. They were between some of them were as low as 13%, by the way. For the governor, like Governor Hochul, they're like, oh, we know she's going to get in.
Yeah.
You get complacent and blah blah blah. It was like 13.8%. Some between 19 and 25% was what it looked like. I think I looked at Deb's hometown, 23%.
23%. And you know, yeah, you know what? I know Maura Healey's primary challenger dropped out a long time ago, but her name was still on the ballot. You know what? I know Maura Healey won. You deliver 23% come November, and I guarantee you, Trump-backed Jeff Deal will give Maura Healey a very difficult time. You need to understand what's going on here. They would love to have Boston. Donald Trump actually came out and said that if Jeff Deal wins, he's going to rule Boston with an iron fist. How does that make you feel, Boston? You know what? You better wake up. You better wake up.
And by the way, Republicans look at trends and they see trends and they see opportunity. So the next primaries, they might try to slip some people in, here and there against guys. And one person did win in Texas. So I'm just saying, now we have a real shot in November. We do, to turn this around. People tend to seem to be energized about all of the human rights issues, especially the Dobbs decision. But people get apathetic very, very quickly.
I need you to listen to me.
You can't.
Okay? I'm talking to ladies and I'm talking to members of the LGBTQ plus community right now.
Yeah.
If you aren't planning on turning out in droves, you have a real problem, okay? Because you're not only looking at never getting your reproductive rights back, you're looking at a nationwide ban on reproductive rights that will include more than abortion. It will be contraception, okay? I'm just telling you this. And you're looking at folks on the LGBTQ spectrum here. You're looking at a lot more than just preventing transgender people from getting treatment. You're looking at the overturn of same-sex marriage. I'm telling you now, they are not interested. The GOP is not interested in your whining. You need to get out and vote. I don't care what you post on social media. They're not paying attention to you.
Right.
Okay.
And by the way, one last thing, pay attention to who is running, because the Republicans are starting to get wise to identity politics too. They ran a Hispanic for a race and she won, but she is an election denier and she's hardcore Trump. So just because someone is black, think about Uncle Tim Scott, or
Right.
Candace Owen, or whoever it is. Just because you're black or a woman or a minority or gay, Caitlyn Jenner, or transgender rather, sorry, Caitlyn Jenner, you have these outliers all over the place.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Funding Herschel Walker, who is funding J.D. Vance. Two of the most extreme candidates running is gay. You know what? There's a lot of self-loathing going on there. Okay.
Right.
But whatever the fuck it is, people need to understand this. He's a multimillionaire. He's a billionaire.
Right.
He gave, I believe it was $15 million to a PAC that supports Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker can barely string a sentence together. People, I'm telling you now, wake up. Okay.
It's amazing watching that man speak. I really, as I told Deb before, I want to see Herschel Walker and Lauren Boebert in a roundtable discussion about anything. Just
I just want to let you know what CNN's having a roundtable discussion about. You want to hear what their roundtable discussion?
Oh God, what?
Whether or not Joe Biden should invite Donald Trump to the Queen's funeral.
Oh, right.
You know what? Who gives a fuck?
And by the way, we will be paying more attention to CNN and Politico. We know that they've been bought out by right-wing guys, and we're going to pay attention and see. I'm probably I gave you guys a source that does polling data from Politico. It's reliable, but I'm a little reticent to use Politico? Because I'm seeing the shift already.
I use Politico limited. I look at everything now. I no longer just, you know,
Right.
there are some news outlets I go to because I trust them. CNN
Right.
and Politico, I no longer trust. And I'm going to tell you something right now. The other thing that's a hallmark of fascism is the right wing buying up the media to control the narrative.
Yep.
That is part of the game. Okay. That is part of the game.
On top of censorship, on top of banning books in libraries and in schools, you're seeing it already.
And by the way, the guy who now is the CEO of CNN wants them to stop using the term the big lie, even though it is a big fucking lie. Okay. We have a problem here in America, folks. And you know what? It's up to all of us to fight this. So that's all I got. I don't want to keep anybody any longer. We will stop the recording now before I
Bye,
get.
you guys.
So there you go.